Tuesdays with Gordon and my dear friend Gordon Tin. I haven't talked to you for a couple weeks. As we were just talking about, I just got back from Prague here, Gordon, and I am tired. And let me just tell you this. One of the guys I went with, and he works with this foundation. And during that, after all the events were done, he wanted to see the Prague Castle, and he
Oh
wanted to
yes,
see
that's
the
beautiful.
cathedral.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Now,
beautiful.
a couple of things. Have you ever been to Prague before?
Yes, I have once.
Right.
I didn't spend a long time, but I think it's an overnight tour.
Now, Gordon, the Prague Castle. I was sitting there envisioning a castle. When I think of it, it was like a big, huge mansion in there. This is not a castle. It was a mansion.
It has a very beautiful view though from up there.
Yes. And then he wanted to go up the cathedral, so he paid for us to walk
Oh my
up
god! Oh,
256
that's
stairs up
crazy.
to the
That's crazy.
cathedral, and I had to walk down. It was a winding set of stairs, narrow stairs. My
I didn't want to
legs
try
hurt so bad,
it.
Gordon.
Yep. Neither did my children. They talk about 200 steps and going like, no, that's all right. We're quite good, yeah.
Yes. And Gordon, on my way down, I saw this husband and wife, and the husband was in front. The wife's son, for some reason, gets stuck with a older kid, maybe about 4 years old, and they're about to walk up the stairs. And I want to say to the lady, walk down because you will never make it with that kid.
Yes, no, it's quite something. Yeah. Anyway, it's a holiday here in Singapore. The Muslims are celebrating their kind of end of fasting period. So in Indonesia, it's called Lebaran, and
Yeah.
so it is with called Ramadan in Singapore. So yeah, that's right. It's
Now,
an
is it
interesting
pretty
day.
quiet?
It is. Oh, so we are having a super long weekend. We have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday as holidays. So you can imagine like 20% of Singapore is checked out and flown
Yeah.
somewhere.
Wow. So, Gordon, usually during this period of time, I mean, is this one of the more, besides the Christmas holiday, is this like the second biggest, longest holiday?
Oh, so Singapore is a secular country, and so we celebrate for I would say religions, race/religions holidays.
Yeah.
So there's Chinese New Year, there's
Yeah.
Christmas and Easter, and then
Got
there's
it.
Ramadan, and then there's the Indian ones, which is like Deepavali, and which
Yeah.
happens sometime in this month, but end of this month actually.
Wow. Very good. Hey, look, when we have national holidays, it's like one day. All right. One day.
Oh, actually, the reason this was 2 days was because it was Labor Day. We celebrate Labor Day on 1st of May, as opposed to the US.
Oh, hey, so does Ramadan and Labor Day always fall on the same weekend?
No, Ramadan moves around the calendar a lot because it's based on a lunar calendar.
Oh, so it's rare that it falls. So you guys actually have a special, the fact that you have a 4-day holiday.
Yes, it's quite special.
Wow. Okay. Hey, by the way, and thank you very much. I didn't realize it was a holiday for you and I to sit there today and talk about designing work that people love.
Oh yes, it's work that I love. That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what? This before we go into this, you, in some sense, this applies to you because you're doing a job that you love. Not to say that you didn't enjoy what you're doing at JP Morgan Chase. I'm sure there are probably elements of it, but it seems like you're in your sweet spot with this, with coaching right now.
Yeah, that's right. So I think I enjoyed my work, but I think this one adds a certain dimension called meaning and purpose to it, which I think, yes, I had some of that, but not as much as in this one.
Yeah. What is it that you like? Is it the interaction with people? Is it helping people process through those things? What is it about your current job as a coach that you enjoy?
I think it's two things. I've broken it down to two things. One is trying to understand people, and that gives me a huge boost to my kind of understanding, and I love that. And the second one is really helping them. And the moment I see a breakthrough in what they're trying to struggle with, it always lifts me up.
Yeah. Is that a challenge for you, Gordon? And like, do you like that challenge of trying to understand a person, how to get through that person? Is that part of your psyche that you really enjoy doing?
Absolutely, and I'll read about it, and I'll try and understand new techniques, new new ways of thinking, new interventions.
Well, you know what? I think a lot of times is I'm similar, but not similar to you. Like, for instance, I don't enjoy the coaching very much. I don't enjoy the engagement. I tend to like the same type of person I work with, but I like the challenge of figuring out what motivates them.
Yep.
I was just telling my project coordinator, Donna, this the other day. Like, Donna doesn't need me to tell her, Donna, you're doing a great job, right? She doesn't really care about this. One of the things that Donna likes is when I just do things kindness on my heart. Like when I go on a trip, I'll bring her something. I say, hey, I thought of this.
Nice.
I thought you might enjoy this. Or I'm going on a work trip, or I'll do something nice for her anniversary that she has coming up for work or anniversary or birthday. Hey, just thought of this. I think that means a lot. I like that in terms of figuring out how the person.
It'd be great if you had brought back some Turkish delights for her today. But aside from that,
Yeah.
no, that's absolutely right. And then that's the reason why I picked this article, because it's resonated with me so much that I think when we design work around what people like and what they're good at and what they enjoy doing, work isn't work anymore.
Correct. Well, one of the things is that we were talking. Marcus Buckingham, famous author, leadership expert, data on what keeps employees engaged suggests that company should change their approach to performance management to take advantage of each employee's unique skills and passions. Talk to me a little bit about what this performance management is, Gordon.
Oh, right. So performance management tends to be kind of like applied in many workplaces. And I imagine that they apply it to try and have a certain standard, a certain simple way to assess the effectiveness of people doing work. Unfortunately, it doesn't highlight or it doesn't bring out how good people are in the things they do, they love to doing. And really, as a result of that, it kind of alienates people. And instead, Marcus Buckingham suggests that we should allow people to design their own work and come up with their own KPIs.
Yeah. And so now at the same time, that means a lot of times there's a shift mentality. He talks about these 3 shifts mentality, viewing employees as the key stakeholders in the organization, not someone who just works for you, but they're key stakeholders, moving away from standardization and performance management tools, and trusting employees to accomplish their performance goals the way that they see fit.
Exactly, because when people design performance metrics, sometimes they're living in a little ivory tower somewhere, and they're not on the ground, and they don't really understand what goes on the ground, what's needed, especially for those who are facing customers or front lines or facing some dynamics in a teamwork project. So I think the right people to set performance indicators and the right people to set kind of what should be measured should be the people actually doing the work.
Yeah. Engagement resilience are at all-time low. Before the pandemic, only 18% of respondents were fully engaged at work. 17% felt resilient at work, and 14% trusted their senior leaders and team leaders. Now, in 2018, 71% of adults had at least one symptom of workplace stress, such as headaches or feeling overwhelmed or anxious. They're pretty low numbers here, Gordon.
I know that suggests that more than 80% of people are not engaged in work. More than 80% of people are not resilient at work. Isn't that terrible? That's a terrible thought.
Yeah. Another thing, and now a lot of times, one of the things I like Marcus Buckingham is he did 50,000 person survey. Increasing wages or trying to design better work-life balance alone will not work. But you have to find some way to engage each person and what motivates them.
Yeah. No, so I like the work of Marcus Buckingham because he used to work with the ADP, which does lots and lots of surveys about workplace and stuff like that, and employment. I mean, we have one of the economic figures comes from ADP itself. So I'm sure they're really good at what they're doing in terms of research.
Yeah. Hey, talk to me about this. One, like for instance, he a lot of times he says, "Hey, look, you got to engage employees by asking them these 3 questions. Was I excited to work every day last week? Did I have a chance to use my strengths every day? At work, do I get a chance to do what I'm good at in something I love? In some sense, all three of these questions are helping the person to understand how they're designed, how they're
Mhm,
made, what they're
mhm.
motivated by. And then from that point on, helping finding your job that connects with all of that. Because when you start doing something you love doing, time flies and you really want to make sure you're doing an excellent job.
I'll be very honest with you because that was what attracted me to partner with you.
Yeah.
You suggested that we should do the Clifton Strength Finder. We should also do the motivation code, and we should do some kind of a 360-degree thing around, did I see? And really, these are just tools in which we kind of help understand someone's strengths, someone's motivations,
Yeah.
someone's maybe passions, or the way they work.
Yeah. And Gordon, the one thing I get frustrated about, a lot of times I get it. Employers have numbers and metrics that they have. But when you're sitting there, like I sit here with you, Gordon, did you get this thing done? Did you get that thing done without truly understanding how you're wired and saying, Gordon, what is it? If you were working for me, Gordon, tell me about your personality. What is it, the things that you want to accomplish? What is it that you love? Let's find a way to make sure you're doing things that speaks and shows you that I'm doing my best to create an environment that values you as an individual.
Exactly. And I think when we just looking at the metrics itself, the KPI, we kind of could miss the woods for the trees. But once you start to look and say, okay, we're trying to achieve this, what's the work that you're doing that achieves that outcome? And I think it completely changes the complexion of how we look at achieving things.
As the article writes, to train and retain the best people, we must redesign jobs around a simple but powerful concept: love for the content of the work itself.
Exactly. And I think that's where instead of looking at what you deliver as a metric, you look at what is the outcome of that performance of the work.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, Gordon, let me just say this. How do you balance it between that? There are some portions of your job, right, that you're just going to have to do that you just hate. All right.
Yeah.
And so, in some sense, I don't want a bunch of employees just doing whatever they want. There are some parts of the job that we don't like to do, but you're stuck doing it. How do you balance that then, Gordon?
So I love the research that came out of this article on it. Okay, so I hate filling forms. I think a ton of people hate filling forms. I hate trying to shuffle paper, but these things are necessary to keep records and to make things orderly. The research suggests that as long as we do at least 20% of our work in things that we love, hey, we've got it. We can bear with 80% of things of shuffling paper and things that we don't like. So that's great.
Yep. And would you say a lot of times it takes communication, right? You got to help the person understand, hey, here's what I'm hearing. You're asking questions. Gordon, here's what I'm hearing that you enjoy doing. Let's try it. But at the same time, I also need this done. Can you help me with this?
Yeah, and if you put it that way, people kind of understand that and they're like, okay, I get it. In order to get this done, I need to do this other thing, which is 80% of my work. But yes, I get to do 20% of it too, which is wonderful, right?
Like, for instance, when you were working for JP Morgan days, I know you hated paperwork. What other things did you not enjoy doing?
Oh, attending meetings that seem to be forever.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just joking. I mean, I guess there were meetings that kind of like you dragged yourself to, and they weren't fun. They were usually those regular catch-up meetings that you had to report to some senior management what's happening in the company and things like that. Those were not fun.
Yeah. Gordon, one of the things I realized I don't enjoy doing in my many jobs that I do, I don't like managing employees. And when I have to manage employees that are excelling and doing well, and my job is to give them options to really be able to grow. But when I got to deal with employees because they're fighting, they're not getting along with each other, they're dealing with attitude, I just don't like it. I just hate dealing with that.
Yeah, I understand that totally. And I've seen many people in the course of my coaching that have the same problem. And that's where I got some insights. According to Clifton Strength, probably harmony is very high on one of your strengths.
Yeah. Hey, look, I mean, I love the best people. I love my job when I get to create. And when I sit there and say, Gordon, you're doing so well. What is it that you want to do to grow your role? And how can I help you? Is probably my best times. But when I say, Gordon, your attitude is bad. You're not getting along with these guys. And you got to quit fighting with all these and be open to ideas. I struggle with it. That is when my energy level is so low.
And you know what? You're not alone.
Which goes back to the second one that they have. Like the second point is recruit human beings, not workers. Tell me about that one.
Oh wow, that was powerful to me, because oftentimes when you recruit someone, you don't really give them an orientation, and you tell them, okay, you go through this orientation, and basically you're just meeting people, a bunch of people. They give you a JD and they tell you what's expected of you, but you don't really actually get to know the people, understand the people, and they don't treat new recruits as people.
Yeah,
they just treat them as cogs in a wheel.
But don't you feel like a lot of times, and this is a side point, we'll go to number 3. Some people just want answers and results. I think some people could really care less about people. They don't care what makes you tick. They're hired to do a job because if you do your job well, it makes them look good. They get more money and they're getting more promotion. That's just how some people operate.
Yep. Unfortunately, that's it. Yeah.
Versus, I think a lot of times with you, and I know I operate that way, I want whichever team member that works for me to thrive and to flourish. That's so important for me.
Yeah, agree. Which I think that brings us to our next point, I think, which says commit to lifelong learning, right? So if someone comes in and they have a job to be done, but if all I'm hired to do is to do that job and nothing else, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
But if you try to develop me, you give me opportunities to grow, it's completely different. I begin to be very committed to the job.
Gordon, I literally was talking to a pharmacist today, and it's been 15 years that she's a pharmacist, and she's gotten to a point where she's just tired. It's the same thing in and out. She just doesn't want to do it anymore. And I think the company just keeps wanting her more numbers, more customers. How many customers are you serving? I'm sitting there, if you figure out a way to motivate these guys, you'll have a well-running business, but you've got to help them to continue to grow.
Yeah, no. So unfortunately, many senior managers think of us as cogs in the wheel, and we're just machines churning out things at faster and faster rates.
Yeah. How about support alumni? What does that one mean?
Oh, that's an interesting one. So I'm very proud to be ex-colleague, ex-member of the JP Morgan alumni because belong to the JP Morgan alumni. But because we were colleagues once, we all gather together and we talk about it. We talk about good times, old times, and we have developed friendships out of it. You know what? When someone asks me, how do you like JP Morgan? I tell them, join it because it's a great place to work. I think how important it is to support alumni.
Don't you think a lot of companies don't do that because once their employees leave, they dump you so fast?
Bye-bye.
Yeah. You've heard the thing is you feel like your family when you're part of the company, but once you leave, you feel like an outsider.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Individuality and unique individuals. Talk to me about that.
I think it goes back to our earlier point about, all of us are different, wired differently. All of us have different strengths. All of us are just different. And so we're individuals. And I think we're trying to squeeze an individual into a particular shape that we want them to be because that's just what the organization needs. I think we're going to just alienate people.
Yeah. This is my favorite one. Teams are about trust when working together. Talk to me about that.
Oh, when I read that one, I'm going like, wow, this is it, man. I think we try to do team building, but actually we should be doing trust building.
Yeah. It says workers who reported that they felt part of a team were not only 2.7 times as likely as others to be engaged, but also 3 times as likely to be highly resilient and twice as likely to report a strong sense of belonging to their organization. Gordon, let me just say this. It's been 20 years. close to 20 years since I last worked at building cell towers. I still remember the very first team that I was on building cell towers. I worked with a wonderful, wonderful individual, 2, 3 people on the same team. We all work for a wonderful boss who I still keep in touch with that day. It's been 20 years. I miss that team. I loved it because they were a wonderful, wonderful team.
Yeah. And I think it comes to because they had your backs.
Yeah. And everyone, you knew that everyone had their backs. And I think a lot of times, for instance, that team changed when there was they hired a female leader and she really wanted promotion. She really wanted that power, and they really trusted that team.
That kills.
Yeah. When the team can't trust anymore, that really affects you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which actually leads to the last one, and talk to me about discard rituals that erode trust.
Isn't that true? Like reporting on your colleagues or something like that, or please point out what's wrong with your colleagues.
Correct. Yeah. And it talks about this whole thing is, hey, look, instead of asking them for reports, talk to this. What did you love about last week? What did you loathe? What are your priorities this coming week? How can I best help? You're always asking questions. You're always serving the team members that you're working with.
Yeah, so I think the concept of servant leadership is so powerful, and I think it speaks to this kind of idea, right?
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up, a lot of times the smartest organizations will recognize that they can redesign work with love at its core. They will be able to make new and more genuine commitments to their workers over time. And those individuals will become great talent for the companies. Any last words as we wrap up?
No, talent is the most important thing I think any company should try to retain.
Yeah. Wonderful. Tuesdays with Gordon. We'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week.